Hello everyone, it is the Start 11 prediction show. Liverpool travelling to Napoli tomorrow night. Chris Pajak has picked what he thinks Liverpool are going to go with as their starting 11. He's had to dash. He's not dead, just to me. Here's the team that he's gone with there. As I say, Liverpool travelling to Napoli. In goal, whoa. Of course, it's Alisson Becker, and who else would it be, realistically? As we can see, one appearance in the Champions League so far. Brilliant. He's got a 66.5% shot save per 90 ratio, which is, I mean, literally, you can make a real definitive judgment on his goalkeeping abilities in the Champions League with this so far. Let's move on then to right back. Trent Alexander-Arnold, of course, spot on page. I think, look, without a doubt, Liverpool's best right back at the club at the moment. And who'd have thought that a year ago when we still thought it was Klein, and then it was basically a competition between Alexander-Arnold and Gomez. Yeah, I totally agree with that pick for Trent Alexander-Arnold there. Moving on then to the first of the centre-halves. Joe Gomez, yes. Yeah, I think that's a solid shout. We've done the match build-up show, which is out now on the YouTube channel. A lot of people discuss the notion of maybe switching it up in the centre-back pairings because we know Van Dijk has been carrying a little bit of an injury in recent weeks, and there was talk of maybe putting Gomez over to the other side. Chris, no, he's sticking steadfast to his guns. He's got Gomez, and therefore I reckon partnering Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, naturally. Going with the best foot forward there as far as Liverpool centre-backs pairings go. I think Lovren is in with a shout for this game, to be perfectly honest. But what we've seen a lot from Jurgen Klopp is that if there's big games, he's got largely his best team. He'll play them as much as possible, and he'll try to get freshness in later on throughout the season. So, yeah, I think we'd all be comforted by having Big Virg at the back. Yeah. Moving on then to left back, unless he's done something crazy. No, Andy Robertson, perfect. Yeah. Would anyone be happy with Alberto Moreno to come in for left-back in this game? I don't think he did his reputation any favours with his performance against Chelsea in the League Cup the other week. Which is mad when you consider not even a year ago, he was our first choice left-back, and, you know, as much as people try to misremember it, he was pretty good for us at this time this stage of last season. However, is there any doubt in anyone's mind that Andy Robertson is our best left-back? No. So, yeah, I think a really solid back four. And I think barring anything mad, I think Chris has got it spot on so far. Let's move on to the DM. This is the big question mark. He has gone with the captain, Jordan Henderson. Wow, look at that. Sorry, Tom, can I just ask the passes per 90 here, which says 95%. Is that accuracy?
Yeah, so he's made 41.68 and it's 95% accurate.
Perfect. Look at that. Look at that pass accuracy. At that kind of ratio, is there a better six in the world than Jordan Henderson? I'm genuinely only doing it for the reaction. Look, there's the big debate is going to come around Liverpool's midfield three, and that's been the ongoing question whenever we've talked about what Liverpool's starting 11s are likely to be this season. He is the captain of the football club. We did see him rotated around this point of last season. Emre Can started to get the European games, and we saw Henderson being used domestically. I personally think this might be a game for Gini Wijnaldum in the six, or even Fabinho. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, and I'll come to them in a moment. But let's move on to the rest of the midfield. First, starting with Gini Wijnaldum. Look, yeah, I think, again, his performances in Europe, particularly in the knockout stage of last season, were phenomenal. He's been probably our best midfielder this season. Well, or at least joint with James Milner, to be fair, who I have a sneaking suspicion, let's just get through this, that the midfield partner for Gini Wijnaldum will be one James Milner, one goal there. Look at that. Fantastic. Yeah, that's Liverpool's most experienced. It's our most tried and tested midfield three. Is it the midfield three that I personally would like to see? No, I've done that. I gave my preferred 11 on the match build-up, so you can go and watch that if you want to get more on that, of course. But James Milner's an interesting one. He's played a lot of football in the last week or so. Maybe this might be a game that we could see him sit out. But no, Chris has gone with that. And I think the smart money would be to pick that team largely, although there is a strong shout, of course, for Naby Keita to go into this well. And let's just bash through these then. Let's get to the wingers, starting with Mohamed Salah. I've seen a few people saying that maybe Jurgen Klopp could come in for this, and again, far worse shout at the moment. He's been in decent form. He's starting to integrate himself into the team. He's causing problems. He hasn't got that goal yet, but you know, in terms of his all-round work rate and output, in terms of causing problems in the box, I think Shaqiri's pushing closer and closer. I would in no way, shape or form like to see Shaqiri starting into Man City at the weekend. Salah makes far more sense for that. So could you bring Jurgen Klopp in instead of Salah? It's an interesting shout. I think we know what the rest of this is going to be. We have got Sadio Mane on the opposite wing. Yeah, man for the big occasion. Although, once again, he's played a lot of football. Is this one game where you maybe pull him aside, put him on the bench, maybe bring him on with 15 minutes to go, just so he's got a little bit more in the tank with the City game looming on the horizon. And the other option, of course, and the option Chris has gone for up front, is Roberto Firmino. The team we've picked here, as we can see, in fact, you know what? Let's just move straight on to the full 11, if you don't mind, please, Tom. As you can see, we've got Alisson in goal, a back four of Alexander-Arnold, Gomez, Van Dijk and Andy Robertson, the midfield three of Henderson, Wijnaldum and Milner, and then the front three, Salah, Firmino and Mane. As I said, I think there's some interesting debates to be had around the midfield three selection in particular, and then the question is to you, and I'll get Tom to go through some comments in just a moment, is with it being Napoli away, it's probably the hardest game we've got left in the group. Yes, PSG away, but it's the last game of the group. You could have it sold up by then. If you go hard in this game, it makes the rest of your group stage far easier. But you've got to have one eye on Manchester City. So let me know what you think Liverpool should do. Do you think Chris has got it spot on with this? Or would you maybe rest one of the front three, bring in a Sturridge or a Shaqiri? Tom, what have you got for me, mate?
Johnny League says... He says, to be fair, I'd start Keita because that's the three I want to see start against Man City. Give Milner a rest. So he wants to see that.
So he wants to see this midfield against Manchester City. Yeah. So presumably bring Keita in for...
I'm guessing Milner because he's saying he needs a rest.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, I think that's actually a pretty reasonable shout. Much of this will depend upon what we're looking to get out of Man City. Look, we fared much better against Man City with Oxlade-Chamberlain in that midfield. Is Keita the closest thing we have to that? We've not really seen enough of him doing quite that driving and getting the shot up, but we've started to see some more hints of it. So I wonder whether Keita actually might be a better shout for the weekend than for this game. But you know, let's be fair, he's not totally into the way the team performs. So maybe it's a good idea to get Keita in twice. I don't know, but I think that's an interesting shout nevertheless. Tom?
Another one on the midfield, Lloyd Barnes says Napoli are an Italian team, typically defensive. Isn't this a game for a more attacking midfielder, Keita, Shaq or Jones? Shaqiri's a weird one.
Shaqiri is an interesting one. For me, no. I think it would be folly to go too attacking away from home against a very good side. We say that Italian, they're ergo defensive, but the DNA of that side is not that. It's a Maurizio Sarri team at its core that likes to get on the front foot and likes to cause problems. And Chris has done some great statistical and tactical analysis on this game with Statman Dave. That'll be going out tonight at 8 o'clock on the YouTube channel. So you want to get a little bit of a clear idea of how Napoli are likely to perform and line up and what have you in this game. I would highly recommend watching that. But I don't think you'd go away from home and go more attacking. I think more likely you'd actually go a little bit the other way. And I think we would more likely put a Fabinho into the midfield in this for more solidity, to give a platform for the other guys rather than throwing more attackers on, because you have got a real opportunity, as I said earlier, to really steal a march on this group. If you can get 3 points from this, and I know that logically, by going more attacking, it should stand that you're making it more likely to win 3 points. But look at the Southampton game. We tried Shaqiri in the midfield. We were great, but we clearly didn't trust ourselves to stay with that formation, which is why he made the tactical substitution at half-time to basically get a better control of the midfield. And then you end up back with Milner and Wijnaldum, I believe, were in the midfield, being a far more solid unit. So, yeah, it's an interesting shout. If you need it, I'd rather do that at home against Napoli than away.
Sebastian Ayer says, I think Sturridge is in for a shout. Thoughts?
That's a very interesting one as well, because Why not? You know, here's the thing, there was an interesting shout raised by Chris on the build-up show about maybe using Firmino wider in this game, and I think I don't like seeing that in the Premier League, but in Europe I think it works a little bit better because the level of the pace of the game's not as frenetic as it is in the Premier League. I think in the Premier League you need Salah and Mane, you need to have that level of pace to really cause problems for that, to make that front three work properly. But a bit more guile, and it's not like Firmino is slow. And similarly, therefore, I think it would work in Sturridge advantage. I don't think he did his case any harm whatsoever this performance against Paris Saint-Germain. Guys are, joint top goal scorer at this point, and he's played about 4 minutes in total. So it's an interesting one. Again, if this was me and I was panicking, I would take a couple of players out and I would probably put Sturridge in and maybe put Shaqiri in just to rest a few of these guys ahead of Man City. But my gut feeling is that Chris is probably right on this. The Klopp will go strong as possible for these two games. There's an international break, and then the quality of opposition kind of eases off a bit after that, so we can get minutes back in these legs as and when we get to there. One more comment, please, Tom.
Ebsadek 1. We tore them apart in pre-season. We shouldn't be worried too much. We should rest our key players for City. Maybe play Salah to get him more playing time to kick into form.
I think it's a dangerous mindset to get into this notion that we're going to twat them because we twatted them in pre-season. We've seen it. I don't think Napoli give up the ghost quite as quickly as they did in that game, as you would the pre-season game. Once a pre-season game gets away from you, what's the point of busting a gut to get back in it? Because there's nothing to be won. The only thing to be lost is potentially losing players to injury or what have you. So yeah, I think it might be a bit of a give you a bit of a false dawn or whatever. We think that we're going to get a Napoli team that we're going to steamroller. We're going to be in their backyard. They're going to have their fans behind them. So, yeah, look, I think Liverpool have got the quality to do it regardless of the team that they put out, really, as long as we don't go too weak. I do think there is an option to rotate one or two and still maintain a pretty decent quality. But with regards to the Salah stuff in particular, yeah, let's get him playing. The more he plays, the more likely it is he's going to get over this little psychological hump that he's got at the moment, get his goal scoring boots back on and tear the league up. And I'd rather him go into the Man City game having bagged the goal in midweek than go into the City game still with maybe the demons of the weekend before, weighing on his mind or whatever. But anyway, that's just my thoughts. And again, the starting 11 of Chris Pajak, just to reiterate, this is the team that Chris Pajak picked. So at Mr. Blood Red, if you think he's got anything wrong on Twitter, not me. Not my fault. It takes too long to make these graphics for it to possibly have been my input. Just to clarify that one more time. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. As I say, if you want more in-depth tactical previews to this, the Statman Day video is going up at 8 o'clock. The match build-up show should be up now. And if you need more content leading up and keeping you occupied until then, we've got the podcast and we've got the subscriber Q&A on the redmentv.com as well. Nice one for watching. Nice one for commenting. See you all soon. Come on, you Reds.